In this video there's going to be deeper underlying messages around trust, leaning in and fear. But primarily I'm going to talk about a squirrel because that's how it all came up for me. I'm not sure I'm going to get through this video without crying. I can already feel it coming because what happened with this squirrel has brought up so much shame and guilt in me. So I've always had a great connection with animals, particularly dogs. I owned a dog care centre, I was a dog trainer for 10 years. I transformed many dogs' lives by training their owners how to communicate with them. And that's all come very naturally to me. But recently I've been calling in a deeper connection with animals, a deeper connection with nature, because ultimately I feel like that represents God. I feel like nature and animals are the closest thing to authenticity. They are authenticity, they're absolute authenticity. There's no ideologies with them, there's no woke conditioning. They are just true to their nature, their authentic nature. And that's why I love them so much. And also I feel like it's the closest you can get to a connection with God on this stupid, flat, floating rock. I've always had a dream and a pull and almost a knowing that I'm here to communicate deeply with animals. And I don't quite know what that looks like, but I know it looks like communicating with animals that most people don't. Lions, gorillas, who knows? Squirrels, potentially. And also this links to trusting and surrendering. If one can get to the point where they are trusting their intuition around animals, trusting the journey that God, Source, Universe puts us on, deepening us all the time, getting us closer towards our purpose, our desires, what we came here for. So for me it looks like realizing that if a spider crawls on me and I go, ooh, ooh, get it off, then I'm not trusting. I'm showing fear. I'm showing fear towards something that actually I love. So for a long time now, I've been trying to get more comfortable with animals that I don't feel comfortable around. So that's basically insects. I'm not scared of them, but I do get the ooh. And I realize, importantly from a self-development point of view, that it's obviously there is an element of just rationality and survival to being wary of spiders. But ultimately, particularly if you're living in England or somewhere that doesn't have poisonous spiders, it's conditioning. We saw our parents growing up go, ooh, around a spider. So we're like, ooh, around a spider. But none of it's really real. There is nothing wrong with a non-poisonous spider crawling on you, for example. So I've known that it's a nervous system response, it's a conditioned response, and I've been working on letting that go. So when bugs crawl on me now, I try and be with it, I try and sit with it. I draw the line at mosquitoes. Mosquitoes still get swatted if they come anywhere near me, and I think they always will. Anyway, so through this practice I've noticed, dogs always come up to me. Dogs just feel my energy and realise that I understand them and I have nothing but love for them. And they are always coming up to me, and that's not really a new thing. But what has been new since I've surrendered into being with animals, into being with bugs, into acknowledging that we're all the same, it's all consciousness. And that if a bug is on me, it's meant to be on me. There's something energetic happening. So while I've been leaning into that, I've noticed that birds have started coming a lot closer to me, being a lot less scared of me. I've been feeding them, and it almost feels like I'm getting to the point where a bird might eat out of my hand. And the dream, I suppose, is to have a parrot on my shoulder or something like that. Anyway, so I've been really calling in this deeper connection with animals, this desire for animals that wouldn't usually go near a person to start coming up to me. And then if you've watched an English refugee, you'll have seen that this happened.
Squirrel. It looks like it needs some help or something. It's like trying to get our attention. Sorry, I'll let you guys get it first.
Oh yeah, there you. Yeah.
It's definitely trying to get our attention. What was it? What was it? Why is it on my foot? Is it going to bite me?
Maybe.
Bro, what's going on?
Yeah.
Why is it on my foot? Why is it so friendly?
You have many.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Is this all right?
Not recommended, guys.
Is it gonna bite? What's going on, bro? Can you?
Yeah, yeah.
Is this okay? Is it gonna bite? I mean, I like it. I like that it's on me, but I'm scared it's gonna give me rabies.
Possible the house on the normal the house this it's on the top of the tree.
Bro, I'm really scared right now. Like, I'm honoured, but very scared. I don't know what's going on, and you don't seem to be interested. Is this okay? What's going on? Right, I'm gonna come away now.
So everything I've been dreaming of, everything I've been calling in, happened. A squirrel came up to me and wanted to be with me. And what did I do? I panicked and I went into the fear. I went into conditioned stories about rabies, which I'm not sure even really exist. And when I say I'm not sure, I mean I'm not sure. But I don't trust anything they tell us. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it doesn't even exist. But I went into this conditioned story that this squirrel might have rabies. So this squirrel was on my leg, as I've just shown you, and I panicked. I didn't panic as much as many people would have. I didn't swat it away or swish my leg to try and get rid of it. But there was a fear there. And it was all, you know, in a moment that this happened. So I think towards the end of that moment, I started to recognize that this was a fear and started to recognize that I was not leaning into all the possibilities. I was not leaning into the love that I felt for this squirrel. I was leaning into my old conditioned patterns of fear. What if it bites me? What if I get rabies? And then on top of that, I had the conditioning from the people around me. So I had the guide telling me that if I touch the squirrel, it might kill it. Now that might be true. I don't think it is. But that could be true, and I acknowledge he knows a lot more about the jungle than me. But I think that was probably just his way of saying leave the bloody squirrel alone, in terms of him wanting to get through the tour, in terms of him just wanting to end this situation. So essentially what happened, I believe, a baby squirrel has fallen out of its nest, doesn't know where its mother and father is, and is going to die. And knows it's going to die, and is so scared and so desperate that it's willing to latch onto a human, something that it would usually be very scared of. And I rejected it. I rejected it in its moment of need. And as soon as it was all over and we'd moved on, I started feeling this deep, deep guilt and this deep, deep sadness that I hadn't leaned into this possibility of this beautiful connection with a beautiful animal. And instead I acted out of fear and conditioning and what other people were telling me rather than my intuition and what that squirrel was clearly telling me. And the fact that it made a beeline for me, nobody else, and it kept coming back to me even after I can't quite remember if I brushed it off or quite. Yeah, so at first it climbed onto my shoe and I pulled my shoe away, and then it came again. I can't remember how it went off my leg. I definitely didn't touch it off or anything like that, but I might have shaken it off. I can't quite remember what happened. Then I went back to try and give it some water because I was, you know, I knew that this squirrel needed help and I wasn't man enough to give it the help that it needed to face the reactions of the conditioned people around me and to lean into the unusual. That I, you know, who helps a squirrel? Who takes a squirrel? Nobody does that. So it was easier to conform than to do what I now feel would have been clearly the right thing to help that squirrel. So yeah, I kind of copped out by like, oh, I'll just give it some water. I'm helping it. I can make myself feel better. It didn't want water. It wanted me. It wanted a father. It had lost its father and it wanted me. And when I went to give it water again, it outstretched its little paws towards me and grabbed onto my hand, and my tour was moving on. I didn't know what to do. So I left it. I left this squirrel to die. Throughout the tour, it kept coming up for me like that poor squirrel, I can't believe you just abandoned that squirrel after it reached out for help. Now there's two possibilities for what could have happened afterwards. Either its parents didn't try and find it or didn't find it and it died. And it feels to me from what the squirrel was expressing, the desperation that it was expressing, that was the most likely outcome. Or its parents would have come back and found it. So of course there's two possibilities here. had I have taken the squirrel to look after it, it could have been detrimental, because obviously the best thing for that squirrel is that it's with its parents and it's in the jungle and it's living as a squirrel. But the other possibility is that it died, and I think that's a very strong possibility. So of course there's those two possibilities, and many people's perspective will be it was better that you left the squirrel for it to have a chance of finding its parents, and that may be true. But in terms of my journey and what I'm shown, you know, nothing happens for no reason. I'm convinced that that squirrel will have died, and I'm convinced that I had a chance to, 1, save that squirrel's life, 2, give it a good life, and 3, further the journey that I'm calling in with connection to nature and animals. And instead, I acted out of fear and conditioning and didn't allow any of that process to flow. There was a possibility, in fact I'm certain, that had I have taken that squirrel, we would have a beautiful connection now. I've seen people who have squirrels as pets before, and it's amazing the connection they have. And the energy and the desire to connect with me that that squirrel was showing, albeit through desperation, was strong. There is no doubt that a squirrel of that age, had I have taken it and taken it on and looked after it, would have bonded with me in an incredible way and would be sat on my shoulder now. Just like I dream, just like I dream. But I didn't do it, I left it to die. When the tour was over, I really started to feel the guilt of it and the shame of it and the sadness of it from all perspectives, from the squirrel's perspective and from my own perspective. But then of course you go into the practicalities. Is it practical to travel Mexico and later on South America with a squirrel? I mean, just saying it is mad, isn't it? But I am a bit mad, I don't know if you've noticed. And obviously, major impracticalities, I definitely wouldn't ever be able to get a plane, but I don't really like or want to be on a plane because of all the poison they spit on you and the x-ray machines and the zapping and all that nonsense and the authoritarianism and conditioning that goes on in those places. So it would have meant that I'd had to have travelled by coach for the rest of the journey, which would have also been challenging because you wouldn't really be allowed on a coach with a squirrel. But I guess I had visions of this squirrel trusting me so much that I could have put it in a bag when I travelled. I mean, and for example, all the hotels that I'm staying in, they all clearly say no pets. So practically it would have been very challenging. And I do acknowledge that maybe it is completely impractical for me to think that I could have had a pet squirrel. But honestly, I'm at the point in my life where dedicating myself to that squirrel would have brought me more joy, more happiness, more love, more peace than anything that this travelling experience could ever bring me. And I sacrificed it. I sacrificed it to conform to the herd. It's been a deep lesson for me. It's been a deep lesson for me in people pleasing and conformity. Two things that I don't do much of. I think I am a bit of a people pleaser actually. I'm definitely not a conformist. However, there's still parts of me that are so suppressed by society that I conform. And in that moment I conformed to what the tour guide was telling me and to what the conditioned human parts of me were telling me, rather than what I know is true and rather than where I know my life is going and where the universe wants my life to go. And I leaned out, I rejected it. God, the universe source, literally gave me the most perfect opportunity to have what I desire and to give to an animal in the way I want to give to it. And I leaned out. So I've gone through a whole process of shame and guilt. I'm no longer shaming myself out of it. I'm understanding why it happened, but my goodness, I'm not going to let it happen again. And I know it's going to happen again because I know that this is my journey, or part of my journey. So the next time I come across an animal in need, an animal that is desiring connection with me, desiring a relationship with me, I will sacrifice everything for that relationship. There is nothing that would be more healing for me right now than having a connection with an animal, particularly an unusual animal, because it's the learning of it, it's the learning in communication, the learning in giving. You know, having a dog is very powerful in many ways and is a wonderful thing to have, but there's nothing it can really teach me anymore. You know, I've owned dogs all my life, And I learn from all of them, don't get me wrong, of course they can teach me a little bit, but you know, it's pretty standard. It's a lesson I've had many, many times. Whereas a squirrel is a whole new ball game in terms of dedication and molding yourself to fit around the needs of another. Again, something I've not done much in my life. Very much been about me and what I need. So it would have been a huge lesson for me, and I leaned out of it, and I'm absolutely gutted. I'm gutted for me, and I'm gutted for that squirrel. But yeah, it's been a real process, and I want to speak into it just to help for myself to clarify this process. And also I just think it's an interesting story to share. But this is how the universe works. You know, if you want to be authentic, if you want to be aligned, if you want to merge with consciousness, you will get challenged all the time. You know, it doesn't come easily, and it doesn't come in the conformist mainstream way. It comes from outside the box. It comes from being seen as insane, or projected onto as insane, as crazy. You know, you have to learn to hold all that if you want to become aligned, because to be aligned in an insane world that's just full of deceit and delusion, you will obviously be seen as crazy if you're not going along with the deceit and delusion like 99% of people. So it's about stepping into that aligned version of you more and more each time, with every opportunity, stepping into truth, stepping into connection and love, rather than, oh, what will they think if I pick up this squirrel and take this squirrel? Just know, like, the way it clung onto my legs, the way it stretched out its arms when I went to give it water, it would have been here, it would have just been on me. I've got a shirt with a little pocket like this, and you know, the squirrel would just be sat in there now. Like, it would be so cool. And it might cause problems traveling, it might cause problems for me, and maybe it would have caused problems for the squirrel ultimately. Maybe it wouldn't have been a wise decision, but it happened for a reason, and the energy of it was clear to me that I was supposed to take that squirrel. So this is the spiritual journey, non-stop. These opportunities, these challenges, these offers. Yeah, rather than, this one wasn't really a challenge, it was more of an offer. Like, do you want to live by your word? Do you want to do what you said you want to do? Do you want to live in alignment to what is right for you and your nature? Or do you want to conform to the views of the insane? And unfortunately I conformed in that moment, because I'm not going to do it again. So there's today's little story, maybe lesson. Let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, I'd be really interested to know. I know, like, loads of plebs are just going to be like, you can't take a squirrel, but they're missing the deeper points that I'm making. But yeah, really interested to hear what you think, and maybe it's been interesting enough for you to give it a like, and hopefully you've subscribed. Alright, I'll see you again soon. Big love.